The Live Healthy Louisville podcast, brought to you always by Results by Design Fitness, features one of our coaches here at Results by Design Fitness, and that's where we are today. Today's guest is Coach Josh, JB known to some, coach known to many, friend known to many, teammate known to many, and a passionate and serving and loyal person. So Coach Josh has been a coach here at Results by Design Fitness since 2020 and has had a lot of chance to change a lot of lives in that time span. So, Coach Josh, thanks for coming on the podcast today, episode 2.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I got some good topics for us today. But first, I want people to know your story because, well, you know, I talked about you being passionate and serving and being loyal, but there's a story that got you to that point. And I just want to hear your story about how you got into fitness and also how you got to RXD.
Yeah, everybody has their own paths, right? So mine took some bobbing and weaving. I had to fill things out just as many people do. I went into college thinking I wanted to help kids.
Yeah.
So I started off in elementary education at Lindsey Wilson. So played a little college football. I was in athletics my whole life, so I knew that was something that I loved. Found my way to U of L and decided, hey, I think I want to get more along the lines of helping people with their health and fitness in their life and growing and becoming more healthy. So it was a big passion of mine. It was something my dad instilled in me. From there, I went into exercise science at U of L, graduated in 2017, got my first kind of internship introductory job back in 2017. And along the way, my dad was nudging. He was like, hey, man, there's a place next to me, because he was a hitting instructor. Still is, but his old facility was kind of around the corner from where we're at now. And he was nudging me, and he was like, hey, man, you should really get in and have a discussion with this place next to me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll think about it. At the time, I was hard-headed, and I was just like, hey, I want to get through school. I want to do this, and then I'll get into that realm.
Leave me alone. Let me finish.
I was like, I'll get into that realm when I'm ready. So when it came time, I found another place that I got into, and that really got my passion looking elsewhere. I started working with adults, and I started getting into the older population. And I was like, wow, like these people are passionate. They want to come and see me regularly. And I was like, this is fantastic. So then that became a little bit more. So I like to think of myself as like a tar pit, right? There's more stuff that's just like attaching onto me. So, and then I'm just going to be the ultimate. But no, there's more things that I started to see that would transpire in my life that got me passionate about health and fitness. So started eating up a little bit more, getting used to the adults, and then I started working closely with my dad with his hitting facility, and I started training some kids over there. So, of course, along the way, you have your bachelor's degree. You have all these other degrees and certifications that you start to acquire and things like that. But if there's one thing that I could recommend for the younger generation is, man, get some experience under your belt.
Yeah.
So that was something that I'll always be thankful to have as my dad and my mentor to, guide me in and say, hey, this is your realm. You're in this situation, you're the professional. So he allowed me to open up early and started working with kids. So got the best of both worlds there. Little cut two, it's around COVID. And
oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. So, of course, the world shuts down.
And we needed help.
Yeah. I was at a company here in Louisville. I was training for about 3 years at that point. At this company, still working with kids, still working with adults. We shut down, went in, and we were coaching from home. Mm-hmm. And I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I was cooped up. I couldn't take it. I had to get out. Through a string of networking, I got to meet Matt, so one of the owners here at RXD, and we met for lunch. He said that, hey, we're opening up. Well, I'd really like you to come in and talk to my partner. I said, absolutely, I would love to. This is a great opportunity. I get to work with people again.
Yeah.
So came in, met with Scott, realized that the great Coach Ryan was working here. So
it's crazy how all of this works because, listen, we went to Lindsey Wilson for a year together, and knew of each other. We had a mutual friend for many years, but it's crazy how everything happens. We were meant to work together because it was like one step after another that led you here, one step after another that led me here. We were both together at Lindsey Wilson for a year. We have the same friend group. We're going to be in a wedding next year together because of that friend group that we had. And man, it's crazy how we got to this point. But you came at the right time because we were bleeding for help, and you were bleeding to get back out there and see people again. So it was like everything just kind of aligned. The stars aligned, and you got here.
Yeah, I was over the moon when I got this opportunity, and so I realized what this place was. I accepted the position they offered me, and I go and I tell my dad. I'm like, Dad, this place, I'm getting into this place. I'm super excited. I'm able to continue my sports performance. I'm able to continue working with adults and parents. And he said, what's the name again? I said, Results by Design Fitness. And he said, Bud, that was the place that was next to me that I told you to go to years ago.
You hard-headed kid. I tried to tell you to go there.
I was like, what? Are you serious? I could have been working with these guys for this long? No, but it was like, that was mind-blowing to me. I was like, are you kidding me? What in the world?
Everything's in perfect timing. You came along. We started coaching together. We started a program, sports performance program. It was budding. It was just in the early stages in 2019. And then it was like, man, we just started getting momentum. And then, like you said, COVID shut us down. And, our adults were willing to stay on for online workouts, but man, kids don't have that attention span, so that program was hurting too, and you helped revive it with your positive mentality and your approach to things, and then also your resources. Man, you're from here, and you know a lot of people, and your dad in the industry, like you talked about, one of the best softball coaches in the state, and that has allowed us to kind of build this thing up together. We both have had that passion for coaching kids. But we also found a new passion in coaching adults. But it's also nice to get people started early. Our sports performance program, it's meant to help people and their families and their children experience health and experience life to the fullest. And I'm very appreciative to have you as a partner in that, and very appreciative to have some of the coaches, Coach Kelsey and Coach Taylor and Coach Sarah that help us out with that as well. So sports performance. We take kids, we say our sports performance program is 13 to 18. We take kids younger. We have a super kids camp every summer that we run with kids that are 7 to 11. We get questions all the time, even with, it's so crazy. The myth has kept going past decades, man. It's like, we've had people come in, they're like, my 13 and 14-year-old, if we get them in the gym, is that going to stunt their growth? Lifting, are they old enough to be lifting weights yet?
Is that going to hurt them? Are they going to be hurting?
Dude, I'm like, what the heck? I mean, and that's something we get all the time. And, obviously, that is not the case. And you got some evidence.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've dealt with, of course, we've dealt with kids for a long time.
Right.
We've had the opportunity to see a lot of these kids grow over the 4 or 5. I mean, I've worked with one specific girl since she was, 11.
Yeah.
So, she's about to be 18 now.
So it's wild. We're getting so old.
I know. I'm starting to see some grays in here. I'm like, man, we better figure this out. Get some just for
What happened to my crown?
So there's been a ton of discussions about kids and athletics and kids and strength training, and the ultimate one is stunning the growth, right? So there's articles out there. If you just go and read a little bit, or if you listen to some podcasts like we got going on right here, to some educated people and things like that, you'll actually see that there's evidence that they've shown strength training can actually help youth or a child's hormone production for their growth. So simple things like that, like getting them in or just starting with simple movements at a young age. But it's not just throwing them in without having any guidance too.
Right.
So they say you can start as young as 6 to 7, right? But ultimately, are they going to be able to have that attention span? Are they going to be able to sit there and listen to somebody that's not mom and dad? not somebody that they've known for a very long time.
Yeah.
So those are special situations. We've worked with young kids
Yeah.
like that. No fault to their own, right? But maybe strength training just needs to wait a little bit.
Man, what you said is golden, because if a kid isn't coachable at that age, yes, their risk of injury probably is greater than someone who does pay attention, someone that
Absolutely.
is willing to listen to a coach and is willing to put in the time and the effort. Coaching and strength training is the same as coaching in sports. You wouldn't put your kid in sports if they're going to be that kid that's obnoxious and is causing a ruckus
Right.
out there on the field, and they're going to be more likely to get injured in their sport. So what you just said
Absolutely.
is golden. It all depends on where they're at with their maturation process, how well they listen, how well they take to an adult, being that guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we've seen over the last few years since this has been firing away, 2019, 2020, the sweet spot is 11 and 12. Like, those kids come in and they want to watch and they want to listen and they want to learn. So that kind of mark has been great for us to get introduced into the world of strength training, getting them stronger, getting them healthier for a longer lifestyle, or even just a bettering performance for them
Right.
on the field, off the field. It's just going to instill great habits. It's going to instill camaraderie. It's going to build the community purpose. That's why we do a semi-private training here. So we do 1 coach to 6 athletes. It's going to create some bondage, and it's going to give them some abilities that they may not get somewhere else, one-on-one or things like that. It teaches them how to interact with each other here. But when you get that young, the one thing that we see with athletes or young kids is the touching, the hands. And this can be a dangerous environment, right? So you want to make sure those kids can focus and pay attention and let them naturally develop until they're ready for strength training.
Well, it's a sweet spot for maturity levels, but it's also a sweet spot for their actual lifespan development, their growth. I mean, they're about to enter puberty. They're about to go into their start to develop into their adult bodies.
Yep.
And if they are starting to add the principles where they are moving better and they are adding a strength component, that's going to aid them in that process, and it's going to allow them to move better and feel better as they enter adulthood, and to gain that strength as they gain height and as they start to lose some of that baby weight, as we call it. It really separates those athletes during that period.
Yeah.
I didn't have that growing up, and I know you had bits and pieces of it, but you didn't have a Coach Josh
No.
growing up. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to see with a young athlete getting started, 10, 11, 12 years old, it just depends on the maturity level, right? But one of my favorite things is the building confidence
Oh yeah.
in them of, oh my gosh, did I just lift that weight?
Yeah.
Look, I'm holding a plank for 1 minute. And it's a good plank. It's not a hip dip plank, So just the confidence that they take outside those doors is just like priceless.
Yeah, listen, middle school and high school is hard.
Yeah.
Especially from, a mental aspect and an emotional standpoint of things. And if we can instill that confidence and instill that leadership ability in those athletes at that young age, what are they able to accomplish as they
Right.
start to grow up, or as they get to that high school point, as they get to the college point?
Right.
It's about athletics, but at some point that ends, and then it's about life. And if we can help someone experience what it's like to truly believe in themselves and to truly accept who they are and believe that they can accomplish anything, man, the sky's the limit for that person in sports and beyond sports.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest compliments we've ever gotten. Dan the fan
Dan
from
the fan.
from the
Softball Talk.
podcast Softball Talk with Coach and the fan, Coach JB. You have to check them out as well. He gave us this ultimate compliment. He said, at RXD, they champion the female athlete. And man, that is the greatest compliment you could ever get.
That was a blindside right there. It's like, whoa, you do all this work and it's not something you expect recognition from. You
Right.
just, this is something we love to do and we're passionate about. And then when you hear compliments like that, it's like, wow, we're changing lives.
Yeah, obviously we love coaching kids, but we're just coaching kids. Like you talked about, we weren't
Yeah.
looking for anything like that. But at the end of the day, it's something I'm super proud of, because I can't tell you how many times that when we first sat down for an eval with one of those athletes, that one of those girls doesn't say, I went to such and such gym. I won't name these gyms out there. I went to such and such gym, and there were like 20 or 25 of us out there, and they took the basketball guys and the football boys over to the side, and they let them lift the heavyweights, and they kind of pushed us over in the corner, and we lifted some light dumbbells and some light kettlebells.
Doing curls or straight bar deadlifts with no guidance or no eyes on them.
I told the coach my back was hurting, and he just told me to go home for the day. And I'm like, man, where is that passion? Where is that ability to pour into an athlete? And where's the programming? Are you just getting kids in there, getting them hot and sweaty?
You're just writing it up 5 minutes before everybody walks
So
in.
for us to be able to have that as a tool in our toolbox, as people that champion the female athlete, hey, we champion every athlete.
Yeah.
Male, female, let's make you as strong as we possibly can. Let's build your confidence. Some of our strongest athletes are females.
I tell you what, if this camera could turn to the left right now, they'd see this record board over here. It is absolutely stunning seeing what some of these young female athletes can do. Just getting them in, since Title IX was introduced in the last couple of years, one of our really good friends, Justin Kegley up in Illinois, he preaches preparing the female athlete. He actually just did a fantastic discussion on that topic at Perform Better. So that was something that we just are so passionate about, is getting these female athletes in and getting their performance to where they want to be.
Right.
First, we got to meet them where they're at. We have to take them through certain guides. We have to see what the difference is from their sport to see how we can improve them. With our programming, we found that these kids they fit, right? It fits, and we're getting results with these female athletes. It's not, there's no stranger to the knowledge that female athletes are more susceptible to ACL injuries due to their bone structure and due to how their hips are and everything like that. So when we're talking about strength training, you can't just throw a developing young female girl out into something like a softball world where you're twisting and bending and planting and throwing and rotating and think that you're going to go years when they're playing multiple games a week without like the thought of an injury. So what we like to do and what we like to preach is strength training is one of those areas that's going to help prepare them for injury resistance, right? Nothing is 100% preventable, right? But we like to inch and try to get to that point of injury prevention as close to as we can, and developing a strong musculature for their bodies is the main thing.
Yeah. Imagine if I told someone that hey, train with us a few months to a year, and you might decrease your risk of injury 15 to 25%. How many people would raise their hand and say absolutely? Yeah. I mean, ask around. How many people post-sports career? How many people in their 30s and how many moms and dads out there, their knees hurt all the time? They've had hip replacements, shoulder surgeries. I mean, how much of that do we see? I know we're in the midst of a obesity epidemic, but I'd say we're in the midst of a pain epidemic as well, and it's because people go through the traumas and the experiences of life as well without having something to help them move and to feel better. I think it starts at the top. It starts with mom and dad. Yep. And it works down to the kids, man. I think a healthy family is the key to experiencing life to the fullest. Yep. Which is your why.
It is. It is. That is one reason why I do what I do, and that's why I found my passion is my family. I was growing up in it. My father got me in athletics very young. My mother was always supportive. I played baseball, basketball, football, wrestling, everything. I did everything growing up. And my sister, she just was a softball guru. She was one of the best pitchers that I've ever seen still to this day. Yeah. So that was something that was just majorly a part of our lives. And as I'm growing older, right, I want not only the idea of athletics, but just the idea of being healthy for my family. I want to grow my family. I want my family to realize how important health and fitness is. But it not only just stops at my household, like my family is here.
Yeah.
My family is everyone that I can communicate with.
Thank you for tuning in to the Live Healthy Louisville podcast presented by Results by Design Fitness. Stay tuned for the next episode, episode 3, which will feature part 2 of Coach Josh's discussion on family and his why and how you can discover your why. Thanks for listening, and as always, I love you too.